Hello, my name is Mage, and welcome to Black and White Thinking. Today I ask you to join me around the cauldron for a fresh rant that, whilst a little niche, is probably still going to get me very cancelled amongst my internet peers. Please accept these good intentions and my hopes to bring peace and safety to all queer people before I begin my descent into the foreseeable darkness. Now today I have come to ask nicely, though I'll only be asking nicely once. For people that are participating in women-loving women fandom spaces, lesbian-dominated fandom spaces, stop calling bisexual characters lesbians. That we stop calling bisexual women characters lesbians and then pretending it's lesbophobic when real life bisexual women get upset that you are raising their orientation via a cartoon character you're scared to imagine with a phallus in her mouth. Not to be bio-essentialist, but let's call out the very real and very dangerous dog whistles where we see them. Bisexual women must actually be lesbians, right? Because otherwise bisexual women are actually straight. Because bisexuality isn't real or lasting, and straight women are traitors that choose violence. Ergo, it's not that hard to spot the political lesbian propaganda hidden beneath your apparently harmless fandom fantasy. This shit isn't okay, it's getting real boring, and we need to talk about it. So there has always been a huge issue of Bio-Erasure in fandom, in life generally, but in recent years, as the canonisation of queer couples has become more prominent, with things like the recent queer cartoon renaissance, with more shows opening up the narrative floor to queer characters, this erasure has become increasingly exacerbated. It doesn't matter what fandom space you exist in, what platform you use, if there is a bisexual woman character in the show or series or whatever that you like, they will have been called a lesbian, and had their bisexuality called into question with all the subtlety of Freud giving a lecture. Bisexual male characters often get called gay too, but gay is an actively more colloquial identity, patriarchal language and all that. Bisexual men are erased terribly too, but in this specific video, I'm talking about the kind of chatter that exists in women-loving women online spaces, especially, as I said before, in fandom spaces where a character's worth is based on how shippable they are with another hot character. And it really needs to not be a thing. It is not okay to erase bisexuality in any form, even if it is in the form of a character in a children's cartoon. There are no excuses big enough to explain away biphobia, but boy have people tried. People have made every excuse under the sun, and every single one of them is bullshit. Let's discuss. It's just my headcanon. Your headcanon is bigotry. If you want bisexual free content, lots of it exists. I personally think you're a bigot if you do, but there is plenty of that content out there, and I've been forced to read, watch and consume it over the years as a bi-sapphic looking for crumbs of representation in queer media. I can give you plenty of recs. Start with the L word and make your way to Gideon the Ninth. But the character never says it aloud. Queer people are still queer in silence. Bi people do not have to scream "I'm bisexual" from the rooftops for you to respect the bisexuality that exists within them. Bisexuality you know exists. Bisexual people have incredibly low coming out rates in comparison to their queer peers. I wonder why that is. But the men she dated were bad. Yes, men in fact can suck sometimes. We are still attracted to them though. Women can also fucking suck. That's the wonders of being bisexual. But I'm bisexual, and I think it's okay to say a bisexual character is a lesbian. Please reflect on why that is. Why the pandering? Why do you think your orientation is less worthy of a stagnant protection than other queer identities? Bisexual women are amongst some of the most shame-filled biphobes sometimes. And this is not a call-out post. I'm not telling you this as a lecture. but as a genuine confession from someone who has never socialised in cis-het spaces, only queer ones. I know what internalized biphobia looks like. I have it too. But she experiences comp-het. Yes, all women do if we consider heterosexuality as a political institution. And I swear to God, if I have to listen to another teenager misuse queer theory to defend bigotry they learnt from a Twitter card, I will genuinely but the writers haven't confirmed it with the word bisexual. Again, when a character hypothetically has up to a 70-year history of being attracted to men, maybe they shouldn't have to. Writers shouldn't have to point out the obvious for you to give bisexual people basic respect. If a character has a history of attraction to more than one gender, they are bisexual and should be acknowledged as such. But what about late bloomer lesbians? These characters aren't late bloomer lesbians though. They are bisexual. We all know that. Bisexuality is not a stepping stone that exists for lesbian and gays to use to deflect their own internalized homophobia. It makes it really hard for bisexual people to be taken seriously. It's one of the damn reasons I've even had to make this video. But it's harmless. Who is getting hurt? Bisexual people. Bisexual people are getting hurt, and if you consider yourself a member of the so-called LGBT community, or its ally, then that should be the only thing you need to hear on the matter. A bisexual woman is sapphic, she is queer, and bisexual women characters are sure as hell gay enough to be used in your fem/fantasies. Lesbians cannot spend their entire online existence trying to purge women-loving women's spaces of dirty man stink, praising the type of rhetoric that feeds into MRA's hands, call bisexual women lesbians, and then be upset when bisexual women want to hide their bisexuality, when they choose to closet themselves within one community or another to make everybody else happy. The rise of anti-woman rhetoric hidden behind the false aesthetic of loving women is getting really old. Fun fact, being a real feminist, a real queer intersectional activist in your day-to-day life requires that you care about the collective and the individualized experiences of all people. If you only value women that are available to sleep with you, you're not a lesbian or a feminist. You're an incel. And if a bisexual woman character is not queer enough for your gay fantasies, and the only women you do accept as bisexual are the ones who can look at their past relationships with men and call them abusive, you are biphobic. No ifs, no buts. We all hear the dog whistle. We all know that when you talk about how literally every bisexual woman character is probably just a lesbian, a woo, comp-het, a woo, master doc, a woo, we know that you are actually talking about us. No one in the lesbian and gay community sufficiently stands up for the rights of bisexual people. Whilst we've got people like Lady Gaga out there getting you the rights to be an imperialist trooper and your right to be married. My anger at this will never compare to the hollow gestures of our queer siblings, at their failure to accept that bisexuals exist and we are just as gay as you are, just as queer, but more likely to be closeted, to self-harm, to have substance abuse, to suffer interpersonal violence in relationships, to be raped. All of that is more important than your right to hypothesize about Princess Bubblegum's sexuality in front of real bisexual people, real bisexual teenagers with lots of recorded self-hatred that can see you doing it. It's cruel. Bisexuals are not half gays, and bisexuality is queer regardless of its intersection with so-called heterosexual practices and relationships. Bisexual women are not less valuable members of the queer community than lesbians. You're just a misogynist.